Hey, this is Power Card, aka Project Pat, and you're listening to the Baltimore Beatdown Podcast, the best Ravens podcast on the planet.
That's pretty incredible. In fact, it's Lamarvelous.
Thank you, guys.
All right, welcome on back to another edition of the Baltimore Beatdown Podcast. It is Monday, January 17th. My name is Jake Luke. It's Sunday. What am I saying here?
Sunday.
I'm already fucking up here like the Ravens did on the field tonight. My name is Jake Luke. A little dejected, really tough game in certain facets that we are going to be breaking down. Obviously, the Ravens dropping a 17-3 loss, a little bit of a stinker up in Buffalo to the Bills, who will be advancing to the AFC Championship game against either the Browns or the Chiefs. We'll see tomorrow. But yeah, tough game for the Ravens. They head to the offseason. I'm joined by Spencer Schultz, who, appears to be in some cabin situation. What's going on there? How you doing?
We're out here. We're in the woods. We're in the old log cabin, and it was a tough one. But at the same time, I feel like ultimately both teams in this game are playing with house money. This was, Football Outsiders loves to come up with little nicknames for likely matchups. The kid and the goat for Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. They like to come up with these little nicknames. For me, the nickname I come up with is the narrative breaker. Josh Allen, we talked about this already. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, the success of those two teams so dependent upon those two players, which we talked about in the pregame, and in this one, it's the tight end versus the wide receiver in the AFC divisional round in a tough game in freaking Orchard Park in the freezing cold. The wind is kicking. The kickers go 2 for 6. There's no run game. The Bills didn't even try to run the football. The Bills stacked the Ravens up front, and it just turned into the most sloppy playoff game on both sides, both teams that I can remember. It was a mess, and I loved it. I love that part of it. I loved that it was a freezing cold game in freaking January in Canada, basically, and these two teams are coming at it with very different offensive perspectives. The Bills want to go empty. They went empty very early and very often to try and take away the possibilities of blitz from the Ravens. The Ravens want to run the ball down the Bills' throats, and neither of them worked at all. This game goes into halftime at 3-3, and it was to quote the campaign, it was a mess. It was a mess. It was a fun mess.
Reference there in a big spot. Wow. I snuck into the campaign. The campaign, by the way, in theater.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's an all-time great.
That's
memory.
what you like to hear.
What a thrill that was.
But
the campaign.
The instant reactions. I just want to get it off the bat. The instant reactions are disappointment, and they're, the Ravens didn't do this. They have these shortcomings. There's a coach that needs to be fired. There's a player that wasn't enough. There's a draft pick that wasn't good enough. You have to have some strokes of luck, and if you're a Ravens fan and you've gone back before and seen what happened in 2012, 2013 season, you have to have some strokes of luck to make that sudden death, that one game run throughout a 4-game or a 3-game period to win a Super Bowl. And the Ravens got a couple last week. They had some good situations that turned out well, and sometimes the leather oblong object bounces the wrong way, but ultimately this game was put as the Lamar Jackson, the Josh Allen story, and it wasn't. It couldn't have been further from that. It was two defenses that came downhill. The wind is obviously a huge factor in this game. Josh Allen has couple missed throws deep that he can't make. Lamar Jackson is trying to roll out and do some bucking Bronco plays, flick the ball to J.K. Dobbins, and it gets dropped. And sometimes, the leather up long thing in the end doesn't bounce the right way. And in the playoffs, this isn't hashtag analysis, but didn't roll the right way for the Ravens tonight. And I understand wanting to make grand ideas of David Culley should be fired. John Harbaugh can't get it done. Lamar Jackson's not the guy. Justin Tucker, what are we paying him for? Sam Cook can't punt the ball. Like, yada, yada, yada. But go back and look at what this team was and look at the continuous linear progression, the trending upwards fabric of the Baltimore Ravens over the last few years. And it's consistent, it's methodical, it's calculated, and what they were when they drafted Lamar Jackson or the year before from what they are now. And of course, Lamar throws a brutal, horrific interception. We'll talk about it in the All-22. We'll get there, but it throws a horrific interception, goes 101 yards, of course. And that was a play of the game, and that was what it was. And now you're back to the drawing board. But when you can't snap the ball, you can't line up correctly, a couple dysfunctional things, you're not a Super Bowl team. So I understand being heartbroken. It was heartbreaking. It was disappointing. It was deflating. It was embarrassing. It is what it is if you're a Ravens fan. But at the end of the day, try and take a step back eventually. If you're butthurt about it for a couple weeks, try and eventually take a step back and look at where the Ravens were, what they've done, continued on the path. They've put their heads down and continued forward. They won a playoff game. They got that one out of the way. And Jake, you and I have gone back and this entire year, the entire year of 2020 to 2021, this team isn't complete yet. It hasn't been. We didn't think it would be. And we're going to blow smoke up our own, booties, but we didn't think they were a Super Bowl team. We thought they were still one step away. And, they're 2 steps away, maybe they're a step and a half, but you don't get the luck. You don't have that aspect of it. And you want to go to Kansas City, maybe the Browns win, who knows, whatever. Can't snap the ball functionally in the divisional round of the playoffs. You're short. And the Ravens have improvements to make, and those are evident, but they've come so far. They're so stable. They've proven metal. They've been a testament to what John Harbaugh is about. The win streak that they went on, the season ended, and it feels it hasn't hit me yet, I guess, fully. The season has ended, but they go on this miraculous must-win month and a half, and they do. And at the end of the day, take a step back, look at it, see what it is, and complain about this, that, and the other. I get it. I get being the upset fan, but you need a little bit of breaks to go win 4 straight, and especially do it on the road, and they couldn't get it done. So I understand the disappointment, but here we are. Guys like Mark Andrews, guys like Orlando Brown, we'll talk about. That'll be the talking point of the offseason. But right now, it's just they couldn't get it done. The ultimate goal is closer. It feels like the ultimate goal is closer than it was. And you think back to how the Ravens have done it. We have the recency bias. We have the personal bias of how the Ravens are and how they won that Super Bowl in 2012, 2013. And you go back and look at the losing playoff seasons they had, and it was the same thing. So that gives you a comfort, but that doesn't have to be the way it is. So it's definitely back to the drawing board in many ways, but at the end of the day, couldn't pull it out. And, we haven't gotten to watch it back or anything, but this wasn't a Super Bowl team. It wasn't to start the season, and it wasn't to end the season.
Yeah, and I don't know, I don't want to also police anyone's reaction. I don't think you were there. If you're pissed off, that's fine. And whatever take you have right now, you're right. I'll just go ahead and say it. Whatever you think, go ahead and think it, and continue to think it through. And in 3 days, I think, some things you'll continue to believe you were right about, and then some other things you'll maybe come around a bit on. But right now, if you're pissed off, be pissed off. That's fine. A lot of people have hopped into the Menchies. And, kind of, I feel like on Twitter, I was being a little bit of a kind of middleman Jakey, and kind of, playing like I wasn't super disappointed, but it's not an act. I wasn't really nervous going into this game because I don't want to say I didn't care about the outcome, but I just wanted them to get that one playoff win. And I predicted them to go 11-5 and get one playoff win. And here they are. And I take no pleasure in reporting that, like you said, I was correct on that prediction, but here they are after a divisional round loss. And I feel like mainly where a lot of the fire X person, X player sucks, X, Y, and Z comes from is this idea that there's this massive inflection point approaching, and there's all this anxiety about Lamar's contract, and we have all this PTSD from the Flacco contract because, oh my God, no one's ever won a Super Bowl in a second quarterback contract. And like, honestly, those anxieties and fears are not 100% misplaced. Like, I get it. But you're talking about that is a phenomenon that has existed since 2011 with that collective bargaining agreement. It has been 10 years since then. 9 years, really, if you talk about seasons. So it's not the biggest sample size in the world. So it's a smart organization, Eric DaCosta, I trust, to continue to do what he needs to do to improve. People are acting like this is the end of the line, and because they're going to have to pay Jackson, that everything's over, and they're never going to be able to get back to this point.
The Ravens' entire thought process is to be sustainable and not ever go all in. Is to be linear, to constantly improve. They don't make drastic moves monetarily. They have not made any drastic moves. Earl Thomas was the most drastic, and it bit them in the ass. So what do you think is going to happen? They're not gonna do that again. They're looking for the sustainability model. Ngakoue was basically the cheapest possible way of going all in they could have, so they took that. It was opportunity and cost, and keep going. But at the same time, it's like, they're continuing. They're pushing forward. They're putting their heads down as an organization. It feels like they're on the same page. So it was definitely a frustrating loss, and we'll get into it, but they're moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. And we're definitely going to see what they opt to do in the offseason. Obviously, that's a long way away, and the combine is going to be kind of weird. They're not hosting it this year, so they're going to be doing some different stuff with pro days and stuff. So the draft is still going to be even a little bit different this year. We're going to see what happens, man. I don't know. Like, I do think that they have some steps to take, and I'm confident that they have a plan for what they need to do. And to me, it seems pretty obvious. Like, it's time to get this offense tuned all the way up. Time to invest along the offensive line and the interior specifically. Time to find a new center, frankly. I mean, that was something that needed to happen. And time to upgrade at wide receiver, pass catcher, whatever you want to say. I don't know. Like, to me, this is just a game that 100% compounded the issues that they've had all year. And because of, coming back from COVID and doing what they did against certain teams that maybe weren't as elite. And then obviously they did do a good job last week, but I don't know. They've just always kind of had these issues, and particularly with Ronnie Stanley out, it changed the offensive line dynamic up a little bit. So I don't know. It just kind of showed that the issues that have been there have been offensive line. That was a big issue tonight. And, pass catcher. Like, you need guys that can make an impact in the passing game, and it's time to go all in on those spots, in my opinion.
Right. And again, this was supposed to be the duel, the Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson show, and it turned out to be quite the opposite. It was the defensive spotlight on a cold night in Buffalo, and they have two very different approaches. The Bills go constantly empty. I think they had 16 pass attempts before they had a designed running back carry. Maybe a couple RBOs sprinkled in there, but the running back didn't get the ball, whereas the Ravens are not trying to throw the ball. And then you see the kickers miss. And it was just a weird night in some playoff football, man. And there were plays left on the field. There was, you go back to a holding into a false start, into another false start, backed all the way up, and then rip a 30-something yard pass and are able to bail out against zone coverage and get out of your own end zone, and then can't get your foot out of your own mouth. And at the end of the day, the number one critique that comes away from this game that was definitely really disgusting was, I'm going to say the pick six was really bad, but before that is, if you can't snap a football, you can't win a football game in the freaking National Football League divisional round playoffs. And there were errant snaps. It's just, it's reaching comical point where Matt Skura has issues. So, you take him out, he's got the yips. He's, you threw a game away in New England, literally not able to snap the ball. and then you put in Pat McCarry, and in the most crucial game, he can't get the ball to Lamar Jackson. And you look at Mitch Morse, who's the Bills center. They didn't have those kinds of problems. And I don't know what to say about it. It's if you want to chalk it up to an offensive line coach or anything of the sort, it's a fundamental part of football that exists at the most basic level. And there's going to be takeaways from this game, and people are going to come after the coaches.
I fucking hate the word unacceptable. Like, it's just the most like pretentious bullshit word to me. But like the center issue is fucking unacceptable. Like, and I don't want to like dog on Macari or Skura too much because like they're undrafted guy. Like, what are they going to do? You got to make an investment there finally. Like, it's time to shore that up, and this can't be an issue again next season. Like, it is what it is, you know?
And the hindsight of Ryan Jensen is really difficult to swallow, but at the same time, when Ryan Jensen signs with the Bucks for some $50-odd million as having a one really successful year after a couple of strange years as a Raven, and then you have Skura, who finally is stable. He blows his entire knee out, and then you go to Macari, and the ball's getting thrown over Lamar Jackson's head. I mean, Lamar Jackson got hurt throwing the ball away on a 30-something yard pass, and it is definitely unacceptable. But you have to look at the other side, look at the bright side. It is what it is. Everybody wants to start commenting and talking about the concepts that you can somehow see on a TV broadcast of a football game and all of that kind of stuff. But what did the Bills do to win this game? They simply didn't throw the ball over their own heads.
Listen, people are pissed off. People are pissed off, and there probably are issues. But like, we can't break them down right now, like in depth. You know what I mean?
What did the Bills offense do?
The thing is, like, with this game, like I understand, like, you don't want to be reactionary, and like obviously we've defended Greg Roman a ton and like David Culley and all that. I don't want to 100% give them a pass here, though. You know what I mean?
Well, we look at it. We try to take a step back. You look at the Ravens offense and take a shot. You don't have any veterans. Your all-pro left tackle is hurt. Your tight end one, Nick Boyle is tight end one. He is the actual tight end of this offense, is hurt. You have a center with the yips. You have a second center who's not snapping the ball well. You're a dysfunctional offense. And is that because of David Culley? As much as people want it to be, do you want it to be David Culley throwing the ball over the head? No. Guys aren't on the same page. There's this frantic energy again, and it emerges, after one playoff win.
That's where my point, sorry to cut you off, that I made on Twitter with like, they need to get like a Calais Campbell for the offense this offseason, if that makes sense. Like, get a guy
that makes perfect sense.
Who can
a stabilizing veteran force.
Yeah, exactly. Just like a guy who can calm them down in those situations, because my brother was having a rough night. He got in his cups a little bit, and he was doing the stand-up thing the whole game, screaming at the TV, but he was making a good point that there's just no veteran leadership on the offense in the way that there is in the defense. And that's probably part of what the frantic energy stems from.
What have we been saying all year? They're the cheapest. They're the youngest. They're the cheapest. They're the youngest. And the expectations are astronomical, and that they actually outproduced their market peers in terms of simply points. And there's you want to point a finger. Everybody has their own person that they want to point a finger at, but and people want to comment and say, the Bills didn't make mistakes. No, they didn't make mistakes, but they didn't do anything. And I don't want to discredit the Bills, but at the same time, their defense was able to stack the box, limit some things after they got gashed early. They have a 100-yard interception for a touchdown, but did they decisively win this game? Do you feel like the Bills are a Super Bowl team after watching that football game? No, absolutely not. No. And maybe they are. Maybe they get the leather oblong thing to roll the right way next week, but you want to point a finger. But again, look back at the process and look at the progress and look at where the Ravens were in a COVID year, and we can make excuses for it, but they rattle off 6 straight, getting into this divisional round, and then it turns instantly. They lose a game, and it's suicide again. It's on the cliff, all that stuff. There's just too much to process at one time. But if you can't snap a football, that's the takeaway from this game. If you can't snap a football, you can't win. And that was a major, major issue. And like I said, Lamar Jackson's pick six in the red zone, as many times as you want to talk about Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson in the red zone and how many touchdowns they've had and how many times Justin Tucker hasn't missed. In the playoffs, it's a one-game sample size. It is the minute sample size, and that leather oblong thing will roll the wrong way. And if you can't snap, it just keeps coming back to me. If you can't snap the football, you can't win.
Yeah, it's
and,
that's what fucked them in the Patriots game too. And like we made the point then, make it again, and that was another game. Conditions were a factor. I will say I do think the Bills are a legit Super Bowl team. This was a weird.
They're not balanced. They're not balanced enough for me to be. They're not balanced enough.
That's fair. I think, like once you get to that point, and like they're definitely not balanced enough offensively. I'm with you on that, but I don't know, man. I think they've got some good things going on there, and I think they can.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. At this point, they're in the AFC Championship. Absolutely, you feel if there's a team that you want to lose to, or that you had to lose to, the Bills are a good one. Everybody loves Bills Mafia, all of that good stuff. Josh Allen, yada yada yada. But
which almost makes it worse, like. Fuck that. I want to get the hate flowing a little bit. I can't do it with them. They're too wholesome. Maybe going to the championship game and getting it going with the Chiefs again, really get the blood flowing. But it is what it is.
It is what it is, and we'll get into it. We're gonna have a full off season. It's all gonna start, and we're gonna get asked about Allen Robinson until the end of time. So I just want to get a preliminary takeoff here. Every single podcast, every single fan of every single team that feels like their wide receiver room isn't enough, Allen Robinson is the answer. Allen Robinson is the answer, and he's going to get a lot of money. And I'm going to tell you what, I don't think he's going to be a Raven, and I don't think that adding Allen Robinson is the missing element of what makes this team functional. They couldn't snap the football in a divisional round playoff game. They committed 3 straight offensive penalties in a divisional round playoff game in one consecutive stretch. And that's kind of the story of this team overall. They couldn't get it together defensively. You invested in the defense. It worked well when they were healthy, but when they weren't, it was an issue. And you didn't have the Calais Campbell on offense. I like the way that you put that, Jake. You don't have the stabilizing force. So you've gone through another year. The clock has turned. The experience goes over. The film is there. There's going to be another offseason. And it wasn't a Super Bowl capable football team. Whatever you want to chalk up the loss to, whoever you want to blame, I promise you, you don't win Super Bowls snapping the ball over the quarterback's head, committing pre-snap penalties, and being out of tune. So while you might feel sting right now, I get that, come from my neck, but they weren't capable. They weren't capable. DJ Fluker was not ideal. Tomlinson, not ideal.
Now that you
being in these situations with COVID, not ideal.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I think we're kind of we're weirdly kind of simpatico with the people that are complaining, because I think with these people, they're saying, "Oh, this team isn't good enough." It's like, yeah.
By the way, be more gives 52. Say snap again, and you'll never listen again. Snap, 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 snap. There you go.
Come on, man, get it together. But yeah, so it's just I feel like we're arriving at the same point in different ways. Like we do think this team wasn't good enough, just like you guys do. Maybe it's for coaching, whatever it is, versus the players on the roster. I think it's like a combo of both. Like that's kind of what it always is. But I'm not saying fire anyone, and I'm not saying gut the roster. You don't need to do that. You have a good opportunity to build here. So we're gonna see what happens. You ready to jump into some Twitter questions?
Let's go for it.
Cody McGowan starts off with, "Hold me. Will you hold him?"
We've got all the hugs, baby. We've got all the hugs.
Okay. Tim, overall great season. Lamar got his playoff win and revenge on the Titans. Yeah, I would I agree with that. That's kind of the take that I threw out there. It's kind of weird saying great season right after a loss. I feel like that riles people up a little bit. I don't know, language wise, if I would go there. But yeah, successful season is what I would say.
You lost the game in the playoffs last year. You asked for adversity. You got it, and they overcame it to an extent. So the Ravens didn't win the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, guys.
The Sweaty Capper says, what do you think our top priority is in 1, free agency, and 2, the draft? Everyone wants to take a sexy pick, but I feel like we're building the trenches and maybe adding one weapon. So my ideal thing would be like, I look back at that 2012 team and you sign over Matt Burke and I believe 2011 to be that kind of guy that I was talking about earlier at center. I want to move like that, like a guy that's going to be able to anchor that interior of the O-line. Would have been nice if that was Marshall Yanda this year. Obviously, that didn't quite work out. But do something like that. Sign some. You mentioned Allen Robinson. I'm not totally on that train. I just feel like he's a little expensive, but like that's not. I don't want to poo-poo anyone that wants that, and I'm also not going to like talk it down if it does happen. It would be a very exciting signing. I'm more looking at like a Sammy Watkins or like one of these like lower tier guys that can also kind of bring the juice for you a little bit and take some attention off Hollywood Brown, who I think is like a solid number 2 receiver, and just go all in on offense. That's pretty much what I'm thinking for this offseason. He's mentioned draft and free agency, just offense.
Personnel-wise, if you want to talk personnel, there's been 2 rooms for me that are made abundantly clear that are necessities to be deep and talented. And it's the defensive back room and it's the offensive line room. So, the Ravens are the paper tigers, defensive back wise. Tavon Young breaks your heart a little bit. You feel for him. You hate what happened. You need a nickel. You need to make sure that you're deep. Again, you have to keep reloading there. You can never have enough DBs. And that offensive line, I hate so much the narrative that because you have Lamar Jackson that you don't need to worry about your offensive line, because the benefit of having Lamar Jackson and having a good to elite offensive line is spectacular. And I think it all starts there, and I think we saw a little bit of it tonight. I just don't want to have a quarterback that is, assumed to be able to deal with pressure and do all of those kinds of things. So I think personnel-wise, through the draft, through free agency, make sure you've got guys that can cover, shore up the safety position. If Deshaun Elliott or Chuck Clark went down at any point during the season, brutal loss. And they didn't, which was fortunate, but you're thin there. You're thin in the slot. Your interior offensive line has obvious problems, and that's where I start. Build on the outside in defensively. They've got Judon and blah 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 blah. But make sure you got DBs. Make sure you got a fortified offensive line, and keep pushing forward. Keep tracking. Add the ancillary pieces one at a time, and keep trying to get the guy. And the Ravens tried to acquire DeAndre Hopkins reportedly. DeCosta's on the prowl. Maybe everyone gets what they want. They get the guy. They get the Stephon Diggs, the DeAndre Hopkins, the added piece. But I don't know if they do. If they don't, if I'm ready to talk about it either way. I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Menachem Gerstmann says, we don't have to spend any time on this one. He says, why did the Ravens start talking money with Lamar before the game? With Flacco, they waited till the end of the 5th season. It's never good to start talking money before such a crucial game. They're not actually talking with him. There's just expectations that talks may open this spring or summer. So don't worry about that. Orioles Haiku, this loss hurts less than last year. This team was clearly not Super Bowl ready. Just happy we won a playoff game. Also, frick anyone giving Justin Tucker slander. Yeah, tough game for Tuck. Conditions were weird. I feel like if the wind isn't bucking, he makes one of those 2 that he missed. But he really wasn't even.
He hit the freaking post twice. Unbelievable.
It's a mega tough scene for our guy Tuck. What are you going to do?
Mega tough scene. Hits the inside of the post. Hit the inside of the post, and the ball doesn't curl in.
When that guy misses you, that's just it's not your night.
Football gods did not want it to happen.
Joey McGrath, Ronnie and Boyle make the offense a lot better. Next year is the one. Decision at OLB to be made. IOL, wide receiver, yada, yada, yada. Love this team. Go Ravens. Yeah, pretty much what we were talking about there. Ronnie and Boyle coming back is going to be big as well.
I absolutely love the constitution of this team. And what did Marlon Humphrey say? What was the identity of this team? It was choking. And you have more playoff experience for your core players that you've paid. You still have a core of very good players. You're a well-disciplined franchise, and you get that monkey off your back with the Titans a little bit. And I wrote an article about, you basically made all of your moves to beat the Titans. What now? And I don't know how this game could have gone much better. Josh Allen, who's been a soldier all year, is
think of
missing.
a few ways this game could have gone better.
I mean, Josh Allen couldn't complete deep ball. There was no pass.
I know. I know.
It was just a struggle. It was a bloody, absolute mess of a game.
It was a war of attrition. I threw that word out on Twitter. That's what it was. And like I said before,
war of a game.
Whoever makes the least mistakes is going to win the game. Bills made the least mistakes, and they capitalized massively on the one mistake the Ravens did make turnover-wise, and that made the difference.
That's absolutely true. And you end up basically hearing all week long about how, Josh Allen is going to light up this defense and how incredible Josh Allen is. And he drops back 40 times for 200 yards as an 86 quarterback rating, sneaks one into the freaking end zone on a goal line throw. And it's just the defense did everything you wanted them to. Everything you wanted them to. So that side of the ball feels like they have a good constitution. I guess Wink Martindale is not going to get hired as a head coach somewhere, as those jobs are all starting to disappear. Guess you're going to get to run that one back. So maybe, possibly, maybe he gets an interview somewhere and they're like, well, maybe this was a good idea. And sure, not going to count it out, but you've seen a lot from Wink, and it feels like the constitution of this team and that choker mentality that they had established is lifted a little bit. So again, I understand the sting, but they did an outstanding job mixing up man, mixing up zone, flooding the line of scrimmage with a ton of bodies. Josh Allen had called timeout, which was so smart of him. He had no clue what he was looking at. They're moving around 7 guys across the front. Pass protection's messed up. He can't call it. So he calls the timeout because he was like, nothing good is going to come out of this play because I don't know where I'm supposed to go with the ball. That's spectacular chess. That is Queen's Gambit, Netflix quality chess. And that was beautiful. And there were some beautiful things inside this game. And you're in a good place. I know that you're hurt, but the Ravens are in a good place.
Just hang in there. Let's see. Gaz says, as a casual watcher of no, I'm not sure what he's saying here. Non-Ravens games. I'm seeing non-Ravens games. He's saying, I'm seeing receivers running wide open. Having not watched the All-22, do we have these and Lamar misses them? If not, is it the player talent or the play calling that makes throwing tough? So he's saying he's watching other teams like the Chiefs and whoever else, and they have these wide open receivers. He's saying, is Lamar missing those? Do we have them? What's the deal?
Both of those happen. Lamar definitely has missed some. He's missed some throws that were open guys. We've seen a deeper incorporation of tight alignments into the Ravens offense over the last couple of weeks. I don't think they capitalized on that tonight against the Bills. There were wide open speed outs, and one of them went to, I think, Willie Snead and gets snaked on for 1 yard, of course, but it's an entire effort, and everybody wants to assassinate David Culley and Greg Roman. I don't fully get it. I think that, again, the onus falls onto the fact that you don't have veterans, you don't have proven guys, you don't have proven commodities. And could the play calling be better? Yes. Could the constitution of plays be better? Yes. But I mean, you look back to the Titans game, and how happy are you with Greg Roman? How happy are you with the orbit motion back, the orbit back motions that Hollywood Brown gets open on, all those kinds of things. So what were the Bills doing so spectacularly? What did they run? A couple 8-yard stop routes, and the Ravens were playing zone, and Josh Allen was able to hit there. Like what was the major difference there philosophically or on the whiteboard that makes this huge difference? I don't get it. Is it perfect? No. Is there improvements to be made? Yes. Are the guys too close together? Sometimes yes. But it just feels like it needs more veteran juice into the personnel, more trustable bodies, and they didn't have it when it mattered, and in a divisional playoff game, and it bit them.
Yeah, and it's like we said, that's something that was kind of there all year. Need to continue to upgrade the wide receiver room, continue to upgrade the offensive line.
Let's look at the Bills' offense, and they weren't fantastic tonight. John Brown, a veteran guy, Stephon Diggs, a veteran guy. Both those guys acquired. Cole Beasley, a veteran guy. All three of them were not drafted by the Buffalo Bills. Dawkins, a good left tackle. Morris, acquired from the Chiefs. Gabe Davis, the one guy who was drafted by the Bills that didn't make a huge impact, but of course, their quarterback, and then they draft Devin Singletary, who wasn't a huge player, but they've got veterans, and those are proven commodities. And I am in the ballpark of the Rams a little bit, of the Les Needs of the world, where acquiring a proven commodity can be quite alleviating. It can be quite stress-reducing in getting those kinds of guys. And you look at that receiver core, and they got Diggs is an expensive receiver. They trade a first-round pick for him, but that's a good deal. And John Brown, cheap. Cole Beasley, cheap. And you've got a nice receiver core there. So compare that to the Ravens, who are trotting out Boykin and Snead and Marquise Brown, and it's not the same. It's not the same construction. So there's work to be done, but at the same time, where the Ravens were at one point in the season to stand where they are now, just make sure not to be a fickle fan and understand that could have gone the wrong way.
Yeah, like I totally get like being pissed off or whatever at that, and like the way the roster was constructed, and at Eric DeCosta a little bit, but like he's not an idiot, and like they went into the season expecting a big jump from Hollywood Brown. I would say they got it to an extent, especially down the stretch. They expected Miles Boykin to make a jump. He is kind of the same player he was his rookie year, maybe a little bit better. They didn't really get the jump they needed from those guys. And Eric DeCosta, like, as much as everyone wants to be down on him right now, he's not an idiot. Like, he recognizes that. I think he's a guy who's going to see what this team needs, and he's going to be ready to attack them this offseason, just like he did 2 years ago when everyone was riding his D after he made a couple of those big moves in the offseason, some of which worked out, some didn't. That's football, unfortunately. It is what it is. Courtney asks, I'm in a debate with a friend. Is this lost on Lamar? I say no. He says yes. Thoughts? I think it partially is.
It's not on Lamar, but at the same time, like, I just, if you say that to me, I'm going to tell you that Joe Flacco went 4 of 10 for 44 yards and an interception in a game that was won in New England in the playoffs by 3 scores. It's too much pressure on Lamar. It is too Lamar dependent, and that shows. And when the Ravens needed to score the football, he throws a terrible pick six. They're down a score or two. I guess they're down 2 scores at that point. It was a team loss, man. It was a team loss.
Mainly
the defense on the defensive side of the ball. No, it was an offensive. It was an offensive struggle.
An offense as a unit just collapsed, and he's a part of that for sure. It felt like he missed a couple throws. He obviously had the big interception, which he stared down Andrews, and that cost him. And it is what it is. But it's a total offense loss. He's part of it for sure. But
that pick six was brutal for sure, as we just said. But they're really not giving them. I mean, at the same time, go back and look at him throwing a 30-yard pass, by far the furthest of the game, out of his own end zone on, I can't even remember what down, 2nd, 3rd, and 30 after 3 consecutive pre-snap penalties. He's bailing them out at the same time. So is it on Lamar? Yeah, he's the quarterback. He could have played better. They could have done more. But you go 1st and 10 to 2nd and 19 to 2nd and 24 to 2nd and 27, and then it's 2nd and 29. And then it was 3rd and 18. That's what it was. And then Lamar is able to hit Hollywood Brown and move you out of that territory. And Justin Tucker missed 2 kicks. Sam Cook botched a ball, and Pat McAfee had a beautiful monologue on an Aussie. I don't know anything about punting, but Pat McAfee beautifully explained what he saw, and for all I know, he could be speaking a different language, and I don't know, but if it made sense, I trust Pat McAfee to talk about punting. But it was a team loss. Gus Edwards fumbled without being hit, and the Ravens recovered it. Like, they weren't going to win this one.
Yeah, when Tucker misses twice, it's just not your night. Sorry. Corey says, heck of a
and Sam Cook. When was the last time Sam Cook missed? I can remember one, and I want to say it was within the last 2 years, but there's it
doesn't happen.
Tucker twice, Cook shanking a punt. Wasn't the Ravens' night. Was not the Ravens' night. And no one had this game playing out this way. No one was predicting there was going to be an absolute struggle and that, both teams, there was one offensive touchdown scored in this game. Who had that? How many people wanted the over? How many people wanted a shootout? How many people wanted the narrative of Lamar and Josh Allen to be in this explicit primetime game? It didn't happen. No one knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, it was a weird, fluky game, but I don't know. I think the Ravens did get outplayed, so it is what it is. Corey says, heck of a season. Who can you see Hollywood being a compliment to? Like we said, we're going to get into that plenty over the offseason. We've mentioned a couple guys already. So I think Hollywood is going to be the number 2 receiver for this offense next year, is what I'm going to say.
I don't think that has a meaning. I don't think him being a number 2 receiver has a meaning. He fulfills a role. He has things that he's good at. He's produced when they need him to. He produced tonight. He had multiple big catches. Like, is he a 100 catch guy in an offense that throws the ball 400 times a year? No.
So here's what I'll say. He will be a starting receiver on this offense next year, and I'm fine with that. And they're going to bring in another starter opposite.
He's been spectacular down the stretch. He's been
I
everything that they wanted when they made him a receiver off the board. He is tied for the most touchdowns over the final 6 games of the season.
Yeah, and I've defended him over that stretch. I stuck with him, I think, during his rough stretch. I got on him a little bit, but I maintained the faith, and he came back strong, and I think he's going to be a nice player for them next year. Boiler trainer. So I know keyboard warriors are calling for coaches' heads. I'm not, but what could Roman have done differently in the time range minute of 12 to 35-ish before Lamar got hurt? Curious to hear your thoughts because you guys know more football than my armchair QB ass. Yeah, it's a fair question. I mean, I don't know, man. It kind of felt like they were going to make it happen, and then Lamar just made a dumbass mistake and cost them the game. Like, they were driving there. They ate up like 9 minutes of clock heading into that fourth quarter, and then
on the first drive of the game, they ate up half of the first quarter and walked away pointless. Awesome. Like, and couldn't punch the ball in, and it so many things went so wrong that this could have been a 30 to nothing game. Like, so many things went wrong, and it wasn't the defense.
Every time they stopped Buffalo, or like every time a quarter ended or something, there would be a flurry of tweets, myself included, being like, "Damn, they're still really."
It was 3-3 at halftime.
It feels like they're getting fucking dominated, and they're still really in this game. Like, what's going on? Like, this is actually like not as bad as like it feels, and obviously it wound up kind of biting them ultimately because you can't rely on that. You have to regress back to the mean a little bit of what you're capable of. They weren't able to do that on offense, and that's what cost them. But yeah, I like Roman as much as people are kind of going for him a little bit. I get it. I get being pissed off, and he's not perfect, but he needs a little bit more in the cupboard there to make us a nice dinner. Jordan, how much of this being a loss to the Bills softens the blow for y'all? I feel like it's hard to get too upset about them getting a chance at the Super Bowl for the first time since the 1990s, given their franchise history since then. Yeah, it's not like they have a history with the Bills like with the Browns. Like, I don't know. I have trouble feeling bad for Browns fans sometimes, but yeah, felt bad for Bills fans. Nice to see them get back in the mix here. Would have preferred to win, obviously. But if I had to lose to any team here, it probably would be them, preferably.
Yeah, I got a little irritated. Just it's not the Bills' fault, but it's like, Andrew Erickson, a PFF. Josh Allen is going to go absolutely nuclear against the Baltimore Ravens. The lack of coverage that was received prior to the game, as the reigning MVP. Did he have a great game? No. Did Josh Allen have a great game? Absolutely fucking not. It was just, the coverage turned me off, but that's not the Bills' fault. And if there's a team that's
also
going to go beat the Chiefs,
funny coming from a PFF guy, no?
Exactly. That's the irony of it. Josh Allen's going to go absolutely nuclear. Josh Allen this, Josh Allen that. Josh Allen's going to light the Ravens blitz up. The Ravens blitz. Josh Allen's so good against the blitz because he played against a couple teams that blitzed him, and all these assumptions and different things. And none of it happened. Just none of what anyone said happened. That's not the question, but I am happy that it's the Bills. I'm happy it's the Bills. I would have hated the Chiefs. I would have hated the Chiefs. I would have hated the Steelers. I would have hated the Titans. I would have hated the Browns. I would have hated all of that. So Bills are softening the blow. I am fine with that.
I have some issues with Mahomes and like him being kind of corny and like his behavior with the refs and stuff, but I think he's a very good dude. I do fucking hate the coverage of him. So I totally understand where you're coming from.
It was just obnoxious. And then it ends up being a 3-3 game at halftime after all week. All that is said is how explosive this game is going to be. And Stephon Diggs is going to light it up. And Lamar Jackson's going to light it up. And it's just like in everyone's fucking face, you're talking about a game that is played in Canada at night in the freezing cold with a whipping wind and expecting a shootout. And it makes no sense in that way. And it could have been whatever it could have been, but it just wasn't. And that part I enjoyed. I enjoy the fact that it was the Bills over the Titans, over the Steelers, over the Chiefs, over the Browns. So yeah, it's a little bit of a pillow to land on.
Durante, I'm sad, but let's keep it in perspective. We had to start over in the middle of the season. Lamar will get a lot of bad press tomorrow, but we got to keep trusting the process. Receivers stepped up a lot in the past few games. Need a center, need O-line, generally need wide receiver one. I agree with all these points. Nobody wants to hear it right now, though, so I'm not going to belabor them. And the bad press is like, who gives a shit if like Stephen A. Smith goes on?
What is the press going to say, that Josh Allen destroyed the Ravens? Like,
no, I think he's talking about like the Lamar playoff narrative bubbling back up. I like, even if it does,
it'll if you have a bias, it'll validate it as much as you want it to. You can take as much of that as you want and have at it. Eat it with a spoon.
It's a
crack open a snack pack of all that good stuff, and
it's a Rorschach game.
Pretend that Josh Allen had the greatest game of all time, and go for it. Let your narrative run wild. Go for it. That's what the offseason's for. Let's get the Stephen A. Smith going, baby. That's what we're here for.
Hashtag narratives. Tim, also Corey Linsley is a free agent. Turn the dials a little bit. Now we're talking.
Is he? Is he gonna be? Is he on the market? Was he not signed? Is it the free agent season?
Who could say? Seth says, thank you for all your coverage all season. I've had a blast listening to you guys. Defense played so much better than I expected them to. Kind of a bummer we couldn't get Wink the dub because the unit played good enough to win. Well, thank you for listening, first of all.
Love you.
Yeah, love you. And absolutely, yeah, it is kind of a bummer you can't get Wink a win like that because that would have been a legendary game for him. But it sounds like he's going to be sticking around here for another year. So that's a solace that we can take from that.
Posty Blaze, this was a tough year. We had a tough year. I mean, I got COVID. It was tough with games being moved around and a plethora of other things. We appreciate all of our listeners and love you guys. And thanks for sticking in there with us.
Absolutely. We really do appreciate it anytime anyone reaches out and tells me or you or just the pod or whatever in general that it helped them get through the weirdness of 2020 and now into 2021. I really do appreciate that. It makes my day every time. Draft season baby says, do we really need to see 2021 Greg Roman? Like he's not, I don't like, we've had this conversation and like it disappeared for 6 weeks because the offense was good and now the offense had a bad game and now we're back here again. Like this
is what I hate about the current landscape of the United States in terms of politics. A lot of talk about UBI or stimulus checks or what should be done, or it's really easy to be a cynic. If you want to comment on it, give me a solution. Who and why? If you want to bring the Greg Roman shit, who is your replacement? Why? Give me and if your answer is route concepts or something, unsubscribe from the show. Spare me of that, but give me a solution and give me a real reason why, and then we'll start from there.
That's 100% where I'm at with it. I'm fine with it if you have a legit solution to offer. But to me, like, cynicism is apathy disguising itself as intelligence. And like, you're just being apathetic.
Did Greg Roman fail to throw the ball away? Did Greg Roman squeeze a ball into the end zone? Did Greg Roman fumble the ball? Did Greg Roman drop the ball on a scramble drill? Like, it's all there. It's all always there. It's always there. Third down, J.K. Dobbins drops a pass. Lamar throws a freaking stupid, dumb, forced, idiot interception in the most crucial spot that he has never done before. Is that what Greg Roman, is that was on the whiteboard? Is that what gets taught in practice? Is that what it is? No, it is not. No, you just want a scapegoat, and I understand why, but try to step back and realize that there is more than one person responsible for whatever you're upset with. Always in this sport.
It's pretty much the biggest sport that you can point to as far as like everything affects everything. You know, it's truly an engine as opposed to just like one player does one thing. They all affect one another. Joe Anthony says, send Skura and McCarry to the moon, please. Lamar got hurt on like the 10th.
Honestly, that's fine. I'm fine with that one.
For sure. Lamar got hurt on the 10th crappy snap of the game. How is that an NFL center cannot snap a damn ball constantly? I think he means consistently. Also, why did it take so long to make adjustments to the Bills crowding the box? They ate up our IOL all night. Yeah, there were multiple plays that they had like plenty of guys just up in the box. And then same thing, like I mentioned, it's a compound game where everything just compounds, and getting, slow and or being slow to snap the ball and being frantic prior to the snap. That just is compounded when there's like 10 fucking guys up in your face and you're taking a snap and like trying to figure out what to do. Like, it was just a really bad showing by the offense. But McCarry and Skura, it's over. I mean, and if they want to hang around and be depth guys, that's fine. But you need to give me a legitimate option. And if it is like Corey Linsley, like our friend mentioned earlier, that's fine. Just get me a legit option. The Browns upgraded their offensive line. That's helped Baker a ton this year. I'd love to see some free agent or trade moves made to upgrade this offensive line. And
you just want a professional. You just want a professional.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way of putting it.
It's not professional.
You mentioned that's a good way. We need to get John Taffer into that offensive line room because he would whip those fuckers into shape. And like, yeah, like I don't want to belabor it, but like drafting a guy, even if it is in the first round, even if it is like Creed Humphrey, I would love that. But like you also do need to go and get a big name guy. Durante follows up with, we got to pass better and we got to get the tools to pass better. I think with one more piece, Andrews and Hollywood, we really start getting numbers and speed up the offense so we have a better chance of eliminating a deficit in less than 12 minutes of game time. I think that's a good take. And I think like Mark Andrews doesn't get enough credit for the fact that he is just being draped and bracketed constantly. And like just one more guy to open him up is going to make him freaking lethal. And like if anyone wants to take issue with the fact that people call him an elite tight end and say he's just a B+ guy, like whatever, but like he's a very good tight end and another option to help open him up I would love.
I think part of it has to do with just not throwing the ball that often. And Hollywood gets 8 targets. Mark Andrews gets 8 targets. And other guys don't get the ball. I don't like that part about this offense. And I don't know who exactly to blame. I think there's multiple people that you can blame.
The route concepts, can you open your fucking eyes?
Yeah, it's the route concept. So, blame Cully, blame Roman. It's never anyone else. And I get it. I get that you want, the endless options, but it's hard to get, and they're at a better spot than is realized in these tough situations. And it's probably annoying to keep saying, but they're in a good fucking place. They're in a good, solid place. They don't have any negging, debilitating cap situation. Look at the Saints. Look at the Steelers. Look at the Eagles. They don't have that. They don't have a ton of draft picks. No, they don't. But they've got a first and a second. They've got a little bit of money. They've got a quarterback that they really have rallied behind and has given them outstanding results, beat all the teams that he was supposed to beat all the way throughout his career, got the playoff win off their back, and it sucks. It's deflating as a fan. You want them to go win a Super Bowl every single time, but it's tough to do so. So I'm just trying to keep being a voice of reason. You can hate it if you want, but I'm confident as to the configuration, the plan, the 5-year plan of this team, and I like where they're at.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I said that on the pod already or if I was just talking about it on Twitter, but I don't know. I think the Chiefs just kind of broke everyone's brain and like made this like expectation that you have to win the Super Bowl like right away with your young quarterback. Like, I don't know if that's realistic. I don't think that happens most of the time with the NFL. So if your expectation is your team is going to win the Super Bowl, in every single year.
Jake, what do you mean? Brady had the tuck rule happen, and then his kicker hit a 45-yard field goal in the snow. So
also,
yeah, it's supposed to happen every time. There's no luck involved. It's all written in stone.
And if that's your expectation, like God bless you, but like I don't know. Like I'm not getting too high or too low after this one or after this season because I don't know. Like it's just a process. You got to stick with it, and we're in the salary cap era, like people have mentioned. Like Tom Brady came into the NFL like the salary cap was like a 5-year-old phenomenon at that point. So it's things change quickly, and we'll see what happens. We have the new CBA negotiated. We're gonna see how creative teams get because we're a decade into the rookie contracts being a really big deal with that 2011 CBA. So I don't know. Like I said, I trust Eric DeCosta to be smart and continue to find ways to work around it. Stuart Shock.
They want the sustainability. They want the long-term sustainability,
which I do too. I'd rather my team win 10 or 11 games every year and have like an outside shot than like do 5 years of going all the way in and then 5 years of being terrible. Like
you need a couple breaks 1 year. You need a couple breaks 1 year,
which they've gotten twice in franchise history. Like neither of those teams. I mean, I guess the 2000 team was a world beater in some ways, but I don't know. Stuart Shock says, I got what I wanted, playoffs, a playoff win, and revenge on Tennessee as a bonus. My one question, after the Patriots game and then monsoon, why did nobody teach these guys to snap under center? Finally, thanks for all the great content from the season from a very tired European fan. Thank you for listening. And yeah, that's kind of goes back to my point about it just being that compound game, and it goes all the way back to that Patriots game where the snaps were a big issue and they were playing in tough conditions. You're talking about a similar game tonight. It bucked its head again big time, and it cost them in a big spot.
Dumb mistakes multiple times. It cost them.
Boiler Trainer, your podcast got me through the week of teaching during this crappy year. Sadly, I see the ending because of the year ending Ravens-wise. Keep up the good works, boys. Signed off from a Ravens fan in Colts territory. Absolutely. Thank you for listening. Jason Allen says, dap up the defense. They put us in position for the W. Offense was hot.
The amount of third down stops they had was ridiculous.
And it goes back to that, like the tweet, like how is this a 3-3 game? Like the defense balled the fuck out. Like
I'm trying to find the exact third down efficiency. The Bills were 1 of 6 on third down in this game. Defense did it. That was the first half, pardon me. 1 of 6 in the first half. Defense balled out, and we're able to mix up zone, man. Jimmy Smith covering Diggs, got a couple first downs there. Marcus Peters is on him. Marlon Humphrey's on him, mixing it up. Wink Martindale stood on his knuckles, all 20 knuckles, and his toes and his fingers in this game. Got pressure on Josh Allen, sacked him 2 times, held him to how many yards per attempt? 5 yards per attempt. He
was taking
37 attempts.
He just wasn't hitting on any of them. He overthrew Diggs a couple times. It scared me a couple times when he cocked back and threw one up, but he did not connect.
Did not connect, and they had one drive, and then the pick six, and there you go. But
they had one drive. The Ravens made one bad play. As tough as they looked on offense at the time, the Ravens had 2 long sustained drives that. If you don't take a sack on that first one, maybe you don't knock Tucker. He wasn't out of field goal range, but maybe you don't knock him into a range where he's going to miss one. And then the drive heading into the fourth quarter where he throws a pick 6. It's just the 2 mistakes. Like I talked about heading into the game, whoever makes literally the one mistake is going to lose. And that's what happened.
Margin for error is slimmer when you're playing against better teams in the playoffs. Plain and simple.
And when you're in the frozen tundra. Seth follows up with not getting a true backup offensive tackle was a glaring mistake the entire offseason and wasn't even attempted to be addressed in season. What gives? Still baffled by the right tackle rotation. Tyree Phillips can't pass block. It kind of was addressed. Like Tyree Phillips was a 3rd-round pick as much as he had.
I'm willing to make one statement that might bite me, but Tyree Phillips was just a random pick. And I tried to, be like,
you're qualifying this, but it was at the time, to be fair to you.
It was a random pick. You're like, all right, Malik Harrison, Devin Duvernay, Justin Madden, Tyree Phillips. Like they picked Ben Bredesen after, who they don't incorporate, and maybe he's not going to be a great player, or an effective player at all. But it was just like, who's okay? All right, maybe they see something. The Ravens, Eric DeCosta, have a knack for finding these linemen. The feet aren't there. He's a rookie. I get that. I hopefully eat my words, but it's just not there, not it. And it's a random pick. And I get that. I get the frustration with that situation. I get the frustration with not having a tackle. The points that we addressed where it was a glaring weakness were tight end. If Mark Andrews goes down, that's horrible. Safety, you don't have anybody. And tackle, you have 2 tackles. They had 2 tackles. And Will Holden, the most egregious error maybe made roster-wise, or maybe the most egregious error, in my opinion, made was letting Will Holden get poached.
That's a good point.
I like what I saw of Will Holden. He was very consistent, able to really slam downhill on combo blocks. He had good feet to an extent. The Colts poached him right up. I thought he was the best answer. Fluker gets the injury issues. The offensive line they need a free agent and a draft pick, if not 2 of one of them or 2 of each. They need some lottery tickets there and to get some more juice going.
All the way in. Chris Flash, chances of Wink or Roman getting picked up as a head coach at this point, not hearing near as much as last year, and really hope they both stay. I think they do.
I think we'll get one more year of it, and then we won't have another year of both of them.
Yeah. I got sucked into a couple of Voss conversations here, so I need to find the real questions. Smiles Davis, a ton of respect for our guys. Are the problems with the passing game scheme related or personnel? LJ seems to be under duress right at the snap. I think we touched on that already. Ravens burner, we're just a few pieces away, and I think we gained a lot of experience this year. Still hurts, but I trust the organization.
Boom. The first sentence, that is the best summary for this football season for the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, exactly.
That first sentence that he said.
And then he says, it still hurts, but I trust the organization to get it done. And that's what it comes down to is like, at the end of the day, you have to trust Eric DeCosta. You're at his whim here. So you got to trust him. And if you don't, then don't. But it's going to be a shitty experience for you. I'm just telling you that if you don't trust him, then whatever. But I think anyone who has eyes or ears that listened to or saw this game tonight knows what needs to be done with his team. Most of all him. Brian Doss. 2021 schedule won't be announced for a while, but we do know our opponents. Which game next season are you most looking forward to? I don't know it off the top of my head. Let me pull it up.
Chiefs at home. Again, I believe.
Schedules. Yeah, so you got Chiefs in Baltimore. You got Chargers in Baltimore. I feel like that's going to be a good one. Packers in Baltimore. Vikings in Baltimore. Broncos at Mile High. I always love going out to Denver. I feel like that's a cool stadium.
I've seen it from the outside. I've never been inside. That would be a fun one to go to.
Yeah, it looks sweet. And Denver's sweet too. You've been there. Dolphins in Miami. That's always a fun one. Raiders in Vegas in week. Well, I guess we don't know the week, but Raiders in Vegas.
That's
Vegas, baby, Vegas. We got to get you out of that stuffy apartment. We're gonna have fun tonight, Mikey.
Your money, baby. Your money, baby. Your money, baby. You don't even know it.
You don't even know it. Oh, fuck me. Okay. Julian, can we please sign Robinson and draft a center early? I'm so sick of this bullshit offense play calling too. If you watch the video from Kurt Warner identifying the offense's calls for lack of success in the passing game, I like Kurt. Maybe I'll check that video out. Robinson, like I said, maybe I'm not 100% against it, but
the Kurt Warner video frustrates me because 3 of the plays were like, all right, you didn't call a timeout, so you had your fullback, your 300-pound fullback in the slot. Why didn't you call a timeout? Somehow that's a route concept problem for Greg Roman. Hollywood runs an out and up, and Mark Andrews runs into him, and that ball, I swear to God, still could have been thrown and still would have been a touchdown if it was thrown accurately. But that's somehow people think that's how it was drawn up. That's what Greg Roman intended and David Culley intended. They're like, yeah, we're going to run these two guys into each other. I hope that they conk their helmets against each other, actually, as the ball is in the air. That would be a really good play. No, Mark Andrews is supposed to take the ball field. There's all these things. And Kurt Warner knows a lot more than I do. Absolutely. Yes. 5 billion times out of 5 billion times, but he wasn't. People took that and ran with it into their own narrative of what the problem was. And like, there's the play before half. You have Ricard in the slot. It's 95s. It's twins 95s. It's 9 routes and out routes. And it's like, that is a horrible route concept, but that is one of the most fundamental, most commonly run throughout every Pee-wee, JV, freshman, JV, varsity, D3, FCS, Division I, NFL. Everybody runs 95s. There's more to it than just saying this is a stupid route concept. We're still talking about this 3 months later. It's a stupid route concept. No, everyone runs twins 95s. Everyone runs that. Everyone does. And tweens. And, middle of the field is open. They're running too high, so you don't have any routes that are attacking the middle of the field. Whose fault is that? Is that Greg Roman's because he didn't correctly predict what the defense was going to align in? No. You have to be able to change the play. And that part, we don't exactly know. That's where it gets fuzzy. Can Lamar change? What can he change into? What is within his capacity? Like, those things we don't have answers to. Sorry, I don't work for the Ravens. I don't know. They wouldn't even tell you. If I did, I wouldn't be able to tell you either way. But everybody runs 95s. So watch that Kurt Warner video. Make sure that it fits your narrative and gives you exactly what you want out of it so that you can go and then say, fire this person and fire that person and sign Allen Robinson and whatever else you need. Whatever makes you feel better. Go for it. Go ahead.
Heads on stakes. I like it. Ravensburger follows up with, Lamar has been so effective despite some holes in his game. What improvements should he try to make this offseason? I think footwork kind of wound up being a little bit of an issue at certain points. Other than that, it's like, I feel like he kind of is what he is at this point, and pretty good QB. Got to keep working on that footwork, though. And I think you mentioned Jordan Palmer as maybe a guy that he could work with this offseason at one point. So I don't know. What do you think?
I think that he needs to be able to throw to the sideline by shifting his feet. Footwork is a good point. I think that he needs to be able to slide his back foot to the sideline that he intends to throw to, and then open his front foot towards that direction, square his shoulders, and get the ball out. And I struggled with some deep ball accuracy early in the season very badly, especially in that Chiefs game. And I get it. You have Joshua Harris. You have all of the guys that you've had that have supported you and done you really well. I would like for you to take Joshua Harris to a Jordan Palmer. I'd like for you. He worked with Tom House, who I don't think he actually worked with Tom House, but he worked at Tom House's facility. Take your guys, go somewhere else, get some outside perspective, go look at yourself from the base up and continue going. But at this point, I think that there's just too much structural dependency on Lamar Jackson. I think that he, to have a good game, has to run the ball 12 times effectively. 7 or 8 of those times, he has to drop back and have a good game in that sense. And when we saw them play the Titans and Marquise Brown is able to go get some freaking yak, go make a guy miss and pick up a first down, especially late in the game on a little RPO flat pass and go pick up a first down, it just relieves so much pressure. I think there's a little bit too much pressure on him, and I think he could absolutely go improve. I'm not a quarterback coach in the NFL. James Urban knows more than I do. Josh Harris knows more than I do. Just mix it up, keep going, keep pushing forward. He's made a ton of progress, and I'm sure he will yet again.
Keep pounding. Tom Adolph, I think his questions are good here, following up with that. So he says, I think you're like 99% of the way there. If you look at Green Bay, they have Devontae Adams, who was a second-round pick, and some guys. Their OL, however, was first by a large margin in PBWR. The key to an elite pass offense is through the OL. I'm also not sure how you turn a Lamar Jackson offense into an elite passing offense when, unfortunately, he still misses so many gimme throws. The INT last week was a good example, had ATAS. He missed several easy throws this week too. I think like there is kind of a kernel of truth there that he does miss some easy throws, and that's kind of just part of his game, but he makes
You're not watching enough football. You're not watching enough football. Every quarterback misses easy throws.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Steve Fisher.
Every quarterback misses easy throws. Aaron Rodgers, you want to talk about the Packers offense? Did you watch the Packers game? Did you watch what happened at the end of the first half where Aaron Rodgers threw 2 lollipops at the end of the first half and threw 2 dropped interceptions, and those don't get talked about because they're dropped? And then it's the narrative that Aaron Rodgers' offense you want to compare it to. Both of those got dropped. If you throw 30 passes, 2 of them are going to be bad. It's
honestly like now that you mention it, it's like we saw him try to go the route of like become the traditional pocket passer, and it just didn't work. Frankly, like he's capable of having.
That's not the NFL today. That's not the NFL today. It's not the formula. Everyone has to move. You have to be able to scramble. You have to be able to pick up yards. Aaron Rodgers does it as well, as we saw today. Ran for a touchdown, buy stuff with his legs. Cam Newton, I've mentioned this before, he scrambled on less than 6% of his dropbacks in his career. He's not even the top 100 in scramble frequency amongst dropbacks all time. And it is a detriment to his career because he could buy so much and he wanted to hang in the pocket and prove that he's the thrower. And Lamar talked about it. He has openly talked about it. Made a couple plays with his legs tonight. You have to be able to, in the way that the game is played today. It is an 11-on-11 game, more than it has ever been, in the sense that the quarterback is mobile. All of the quarterbacks are mobile. It adds an extra element. And J.K. Dobbins drops a huge ball. Lamar throws an interception. Like, again, as I mentioned, Aaron Rodgers throws one super easily interceptable. The second one easily could have been intercepted. Both of them are dropped. What if whatever the hell his name is, the Bills nickel drops that pick, and then the Ravens score a touchdown, the Ravens win the game? Like, then what? Then what is your narrative? Then what is the thing? Like, it's gone in that sense, and it's just silly in some senses. I don't know.
Team Dwight and DeFlock. Why was Williams on Diggs? Those timeouts in the first quarter could have been used at the end of the first half. Why does Tucker always seem to miss kicks in the night? I can't analyze Justin Tucker's kicks. Williams on Diggs. Yeah, that was a weird play. That kind of wound up being a big gainer. I think they just kind of got mixed up there as to what they were supposed to do.
That was like their second. It felt like the Ravens came out of the second half and were like, all right, we're going to put Tramon Williams, who has not, if I'm not mistaken, was not really on the field in the first half, on Diggs. And I don't know the thought process there. They understand. I thought that maybe Peters was hurt. I don't know, but he wasn't. So
because they opened the game with Peters on him with help over the top, and the looks kind of changed a little bit over the course of the game. I think it goes to maybe their scheme a little bit. I'm not sure like how often they're moving guys around, but who knows? We'll get into it, obviously, or maybe we won't. Maybe burn the tape. Steve Fisher says, being new to Twitter, I just want to thank you guys for great Ravens commentary on here and an awesome podcast. Really enjoyed listening to you guys. Intelligent responses, fair analysis, and hilarious. Thanks for a good season of 2020 pods. Thank you for listening.
We love you.
Orioles Haiku says, also forgot to add, Jake, can you say the Arrivederci in your Chris Collinsworth voice to make us all feel better? I'll tell you what, Al, this was a tremendous game played tonight by the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen, an awesome game, better than Lamar Jackson, bringing all the narratives to piss Spencer off. And as we sign off here, I say Arrivederci. Arrivederci, Al. Was that any good?
Boom.
Okay.
That was fantastic.
Okay. Well, it's 1:30 in the morning, so what do you say we get out of here?
Let's do it. We'll get into all of it. Matt Judon, Ngakoue, Allen Robinson, the 2021 draft class that I should be going to the Senior Bowl this year, and the COVID protocol of this entire draft class is going to be strange, peculiar, and unprepared. They have basically, they being the NFL, has not really been definitive on when things are going to happen or what sort of protocols are going to be, and it's an entity of the NFL that is pretty separate from everything else and has its own organizational structure, so I'm not sure why, but The Ravens couldn't get it done. Sorry, the Ravens didn't win the Super Bowl, guys. Tough loss, but it felt practical. It didn't feel like the Ravens were robbed of anything. So they got the monkey off their back in a playoff win, and this is where we are. So it's frustrating, but it doesn't feel the same way that it did last year. There's no shock about it. There's no shock factor to this one. It feels like
that's you couldn't have said it better. Like I'm not going to tell anyone how to feel. I am not going to tell anyone what to expect. If you expected the Ravens to win all these games and go win the Super Bowl and do X, Y, and Z, or even look a specific way on offense tonight, which they did not, God bless you. That is your right. And if you're pissed off about it, then God bless you. You have every right to feel pissed off. Hopefully it wears off for you soon. For me, I'm a little pissed off. I feel like they could have won that game tonight, but they didn't. Pretty much hit my prediction with 11-5. They got the playoff win. They got the monkey on their back. They're going to keep building. And if that's not good enough for you, then that's tough. What are you going to do? But, want to end it on a positive note. I think it was a good season, a successful season. Do appreciate everyone tuning in, listening, shooting in all the nice messages about the show and what you guys think of how we've been doing it this year. It's, I think, been a successful year for the podcast, big time. Had some great guests, had, a lot of fun doing it. This is sort of as much as it has turned into a little bit of a second job for us, it's also something that is incredibly fun and that we enjoy doing. I love chopping it up with you a couple times a week. You've turned into a good friend of mine over these past couple of years, and obviously going to keep it rolling. So thank you, buddy, first and foremost.
Appreciate you. Appreciate all of our listeners. It's been tough. As mentioned, COVID was a tough situation to navigate with a lot of scheduling snafus and different things, but we stuck in there. We hung in there. You guys hung with us. We appreciate all of you guys. And, me especially, I get a little snippy, but I hope that we're bringing some good insight to the table, bringing some fun to the table, giving you guys something to listen to while you're trapped in your houses for most of this damn year. We're hitting almost the 1 year mark of when things went down. And, it was a tough year. First year of my life that I didn't go to a Ravens game. So that was tough. It's been tough. It's been unique. And considering, I hope that all of our listeners had fun. I hope that you had fun, Jake. I know that I did. And it's been a ride. It's been an absolute ride. And we are going to keep going, keep pushing forward, and we'll be here. Off-season coverage will continue on. And the Ravens are out, but like where they're at, man. Like where they're at. And, whatever people want to say that's an optimist take. Well, it is, because if I have any bias, it's that I've seen this show before where you have to put blood and skin in to get a ring out of it. And while that doesn't happen for every team,
I don't know
Ravens.
I don't know why this just flashed through my mind, but could you imagine if we were 10 years older and technology had developed 10 years faster? Can you imagine if we were doing this podcast after January, whatever, of 2011 or 2012, I guess?
No, I can't.
It would be a million fucking times worse than this. What are we doing? Calm down, everyone. It's fine.
The Ravens they got obliterated by the Broncos at home, and that was while Ray Lewis is injured and old as fuck, and Ed Reed is pretty old, and Dennis Pitta redeems the game with his little 70-yard touchdown, little weird hurdle thing, and it doesn't look as bad as it was, but it was
that was sick,
31-3 or something at one point. And then they just caught fire, and that damn stitched leather oblong thing bounced the right way a couple times. A couple good things happened. And at this point, this is my bias. Here's my bias. I've seen it happen twice. They have to suffer. They have to put blood and skin in to get the shiny trophy out of it. This is blood and skin. The Ravens are going to respond well. They're not in a bad situation. They don't have a bad cap situation. They aren't vacant. They don't have desperate liabilities like the Steelers and those other teams I mentioned earlier do. They can keep moving, assess again, take another peg forward, hopefully. So It was a fun year. We're not done. It never ends. We're going to keep going, but this is the end of the Ravens season this year. And like I said, it felt like they were playing with house money after that Titans game. You have to go on the road. They've been playing playoff games for quite some time, and we love all of our listeners. We love you guys, and we'll keep on keeping on. Hope you guys join us. So we'll be getting it done in the next week, getting some final wrap up stuff of this Bills game, and then we'll be moving forward. And yeah, we will be getting into the Allen Robinson talk, the talk of the century. Allen Robinson, a Baltimore Raven. Everybody wants to see it happen.
Who, by the way, I love the Allen Robinson tweet-like analysis that has been going on all season, but tonight he liked to tweet saying they need to get Lamar number 1 wide receiver. It's fucking sick. I love Ravens fans.
It's done. It's a done deal. He signed for a bargain. And Derek Presti commenting at the last second, the better team won. Yeah, the team that could functionally snap the football won the game. I agree. So that's how it ended. It was brutal, but there's no shock. I don't know. I don't feel horrible. I felt horrible last year after it happened. I felt sick. And I haven't felt that way since I was a little boy, and it was the Peyton Manning Colts that came into Baltimore, and the Ravens couldn't score a touchdown. I guess this game is somewhat similar in that way, a little bit, but wasn't going to be their day. So here we are. We'll keep on going. Hope you guys keep on listening. Again, thank you. Love you. And we'll talk to you soon.
We certainly will. Thank you for tuning in. If you liked what you heard, go ahead and follow the show on social. Podcast Beatdown on Twitter. I'm at Jake Luke. Spencer is at Ravens 4 Dummies. That is the number 4 in the middle. My last name is spelled Louque. I don't know why I missed that. Follow us on Instagram at Baltimore_Beatdown, and check us out on Facebook and YouTube as well. Appreciate you all tuning in. Hang in there. Have yourself a nice Sunday. Do something nice for yourself. It's a tough loss entering an off season. Hopefully things are going to get better with the rest of the world, but we'll certainly see what happens. And until next time, Al, arrivederci.